All right, good evening again, and I apologize for my terrible one-liner joke. But anyhow, you might need to use it in a pinch yourself, so feel free to borrow it. So I'm Nancy Nyland, the Volunteer and Special Events Coordinator, the face that you're getting sick of looking at after so many events this month. But thank you for being here again. Thank you to the Friends of Lake Oswego Public Library who support this and every other program that we put on, also pay for the cookies and the tea and all those things. So if you feel so inclined, you can drop some money in their little tip jar back there, as well as please become a member. That way you can support the programs. If you have a cell phone, this is the time to take it out and silence it. And so I'd like to welcome Bekah Raftery. Has been working with the Inside Alliance for almost 3 years and has witnessed firsthand the effects incarceration has on individuals and those who love them. She wants to be able to walk alongside those individuals and families, offering support and encouragement on their reentry journey by connecting people with resources like housing, jobs, education, and clothing. And anybody who has listened to the last couple of lectures we see how important those steps are after someone has been released from their time in prison. She also oversees 2 reentry homes for female identifying clients and manages the peer mentor program, as well as the clothing closet. She loves going to work and getting the opportunity to help others so they don't feel like they're alone. And then we have Santy Sanchez joined the Insight to Wellbeing program without knowing what to expect, but it completely changed her life. She realized that while the circumstances didn't change, her understanding did. She discovered that she had the power to see her thoughts for what they are and choose whether to believe them. This simple yet profound insight gave her agency over her mood, behavior, and how she shows up in the world. That's a pretty incredible impact. So please join me in welcoming Bekah and Santy.
Hello. Okay, maybe I'm gonna hold it because I'm nervous and I move around a lot. Hi, everybody, and again, sorry for being a little bit tardy. So I figured well, first off, I did read the book. That was a beautiful book, and I really did enjoy it. And I did see, because I kind of wanted to take a look and see like how realistic it was, to like current situations that that I'm dealing with. But I will get to that. But I just wanted to give a little bit of background with my experience with incarceration. I have only gone to jail, which is a lot different than prison. But I am almost 5 years clean off of drugs and alcohol. And I did go to jail quite a few times. And, in my journey of getting clean, like my kids experienced incarceration. My kid's dad is in prison and has been in prison for like most of his life. So just navigating all of that has been very challenging, but also it helped me to have a really strong connection with people that are experiencing incarceration, not just ones that have been locked up, but also people that are affected by it, like children or parents of kids that that are incarcerated or have been incarcerated, because it affects everybody around them, not just the people incarcerated. So I think that's one of the main reasons I really started working for the Insight Alliance, was their impactful work that they're doing inside the prisons. And Santy will touch more on that. But we started about 3 years ago. We opened 2 recovery houses for female identifying folks that released from prison that took our programming while in prison. A lot of times sometimes people get brought by family, but then sometimes people don't have family. So I've gone out to various places and picked people up and brought them to the house and given them just like a little care basket of the stuff that we've gathered around the office for them, like hygiene items and little gift cards for like the grocery store and stuff until they get their food stamps turned on and all that kind of a thing. And I feel like really touching on the fact that when people are released from prison, a lot of times there's a lot of anxiety that comes along with that, and just trying to completely relearn how to be as just a person, much less an adult. There's been times where, I've been like in a really kind of not a hurry, but just trying to get things done. And I go to the house to go meet someone that was released, and I bring all the paperwork and I bring my whole briefcase and I sit down and they just start crying, because it's a lot. It's a lot for them. And then at that point, just putting away the paperwork and doing that at a different time and just kind of just sitting and not really saying too much, just sitting and letting them say whatever it is that they feel like saying. And sometimes it takes a couple weeks to get paperwork and all those kind of things done. But, I think just really being able to show up as genuine as possible and sitting there with someone while they're just trying to figure out how to live the next 30 minutes is something that I see myself doing, for a long time. I have seen people who've gotten out and who have really struggled, but then, they start going to school, or they go back and they get their GEDs. That's a big one. And then go into a trade school, and then from there they get a really good job, and they're doing great things now. And, and sometimes, and that's good for them. And then also other times it's just getting through and starting mental health and just like getting a routine and showing up for themselves every single day. Sometimes that to me is also just as much of a success as someone that gets a job. So I think that's something also like I really enjoy about the Insight Alliance is the fact that we just get to show up for them how they need us, not what we think that they need. I think that, I just lost my train of thought. I was like, oh, I'm on a roll, and then I lost it. But yeah, so, and not just, we also have a peer mentor program. So a lot of times people that have also come out of incarceration, or sometimes people that are experiencing incarceration, their children sometimes need support. And so we have offered support and peer mentorship to children of people that are incarcerated, like teenage age. And if not, then if they are younger and they still need more support with things, that we find other organizations that are more geared to children to be able to help. And also, we do have somebody like that has been through our housing that she actually hasn't experienced incarceration, but she grew up with her whole family being incarcerated. Like she lived with her grandma. Her grandma had been incarcerated. Her mom had been incarcerated, and her husbands, and then both of her sons for most of their life. So just helping her navigate, day-to-day things and helping her just get on her feet has been something that has been really positive in my life. And then, let me see. I can't really think of anything else at the moment, so I'm going to hand it over to Santy, and then hopefully she has a lot more to say.
Thanks, Bekah. Hello, everyone. My name is Santy Sanchez, and I work as the program director for the Insight Alliance. So I feel like I relate a lot to Harriet in the book, because I am someone who goes in and works in the prisons, and we teach our program, which is called Insight to Wellbeing. And so much like the book club, I go in every single week for 10 weeks, and we get to just be in community with the women who are in prison, and also the men. I typically work a lot with adults, but I'd like to just back up just a little bit and share a little bit about me and my story and how I got into this work. experienced a lot of trauma at an early age, and I, much like Frank, lost someone to negligence, for lack of better words, and my mother was killed when I was 23 years old, and so I think that really shifted how then I experienced everything and how I saw the world. And so although I don't have the experience of ever being physically incarcerated, I don't know if anyone here can relate to being in a mental prison, right, where sometimes my thoughts get really busy in my head, and so I felt like I was kind of trapped for a really long time. And then very serendipitously, I found the Insight Alliance, and the universe just sort of aligned exactly how it aligned, and I feel like that's kind of like who Harriet was for Violet in her experience. And so I feel like I'm that person for all of these women who, yes, they may have committed crimes, but in that there's still well-being underneath that. Like there's still humans underneath that. And so I think Insight to Wellbeing really offers a different way, a different lens of being able to look at what is true for all humans, no matter who you are, where you come from, where you've been in life, what you've done, what you haven't done. And so I really like that there was a lot of very similar threads between the book and also the work that we do. And so a lot of people who have taken our program, one, they come back. Our program is one of the very few programs in prisons within the Department of Corrections where we have a running wait list, meaning that there are people who take it, they want to take it again, they're telling their friends about it, they're telling people about it, and I think something that's really profound is for folks who are experiencing incarceration, it can look like there's not a lot of freedom. It can look like there's not a lot of space to experience peace of mind. But one of our most common pieces of feedback is, wow, I've, for the first time ever, am experiencing freedom, which is really ironic for folks who are in prison. And so that kind of is an insight to, like, this is an inside job, and how we experience ourselves is from the inside out. And so that's kind of a little glimpse of the work that I do inside of the prisons. And I can't speak enough to the impact that our programming has had on people, especially as they're transitioning, as Bekah mentioned. It is an incredibly overwhelming and scary transition to go from incarceration back into the communities. And so I feel like the more people have an understanding of themselves, it allows them to be able to navigate life on life's terms, as we like to say, when life gets hard, when life gets challenging. And so I feel like there's a lot of commonalities between Violet and a lot of the clients that we work with. So am I missing anything, Bekah? That was beautiful. Okay, great. I felt like very in the flow. Yeah. Take a breath. Wonderful. Maybe we can open it up then to some Q&A if anyone has any questions. Yeah.
It sounds like you guys have a good thing, because I've always kind of thought that in my head, or wondered that, like, well, of course, there's people who are just in prison who are just idiots, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
They're going to go right back to crime and stuff, and when they get out, and that's unfortunate, and just keep going to prison. But the people who do actually want to get their life together, it seemed like it would definitely be a challenge. I mean, life is hard for anybody, but it's
sure.
Like, you know, want to get a job, you want to find a place to stay. All those things are going to be difficult with the record. I mean, I realize technically you can find companies that are more flexible with the criminal background.
Sure.
And find housing that's more, where you don't have to sign a big lease. But all I'm saying is, for the people who are committed to getting their life together, it would be all these big challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you guys, those are the people that you guys try and help and work with, and
Yeah.
that you be, it seems like a good thing, because it would be so, even if you're sincere about trying to get your life together,
Mm-hmm.
you would have all these challenges even more than a regular person, because of your record
Sure. Yeah. And I think something to mention, I'll get to your question, is that because we're a second chance employer, I think it makes us different than other organizations because most of us, a good majority of us, have lived experience. And that could be via trauma, via recovery, via incarceration. And so the people that we employ or that we mentor more often than not are going to have that lived experience. And I think that makes us, I don't know, it makes the experience that much more rich. So, yeah, thanks for the comment.
So, I don't know anything about Inside Alliance. Are you part of the prison system? Are you a state agency?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, at the moment, we currently are not contracted through the Department of Corrections. We're a nonprofit organization. And then do you want to speak on, like, how we get our funding and stuff?
So like Santy had mentioned, we are a nonprofit organization. So how we are able to go in and do the things that we do. So I think we go under as volunteers, correct? And then we get funding from the federal government or from foundations, especially a lot of ones around Portland. So we get together and we get all of our demographics, all the information and the kinds of people that we serve, and we fill out their big application and then we submit it, and then they decide if we should be able, if they what we are doing is under their kind of mission statement and the kind of things that they want to fund. So that is how we are funded for the most part. I think we don't have any government grants because we just kind of wanted to be able to not have really strict guidelines on how we're supposed to help people and give people more chances than kind of normal agencies would. So so with some the feds, and then like Measure 110. I know there's been a lot of talk about Measure 110. That is one of our huge funders and how we pay for our housing. And also I forgot to mention that our housing is a year-long program where the people staying there do not have to pay, and it is funded through Measure 110. So yeah.
How many people do you serve in the system like per year?
Ooh, that's a great question.
So in the prisons and outside of the prisons?
Well,
as a whole?
navigating the resources that you have available once they're leaving the system.
So let's say we have about 25 people per class. I'll speak for just the prison sake because I don't have a number, but maybe I can give you all an idea. We have up to 25 to 30 people in one class for 10 weeks. So that's 2.5 months. And then, we're doing about 4 or 5 of those classes then a year. So, I mean, that's already like, do the math on that.
On one prison alone, it's over
$100.
Yeah, well over 100 just in one prison, but they also go to Inverness Jail. They go to Coffee Creek Correctional Institution. They go to Columbia River Correctional Institution. And then they also go to Harmony Academy, which is a recovery high school. And then also they go to Tigard High School. Is that all of them? Oh, and the McLaren prison youth facility as well. So I would definitely say, probably total with all the services outside of prison and then in prison, I would say at least like 600 people that you guys. Yeah.
That's impressive. How many beds are you able to offer with your housing?
That's a really good question. We have 2 houses, and both of them have 6 rooms, and we feel like that it was really important for everybody to have their own space, so we don't want to put a bunch of people in one room. So we have single room occupancy. So we have 12 beds. Okay. And then with our peer mentor program, we have 14 mentors, and then I would say we have about 80 mentees in total. I would say.
Incredible.
How long can they stay? How long can they stay there?
In our housing?
Yes.
It is a year-long program, but if they are still in the process of finding housing or finding somewhere else to be, it's not once the 2 years is up they have to move out. It's as long as they're actively seeking and finding like an apartment, because sometimes, especially right now, times are a little difficult, and so we're just having a little more grace for those people, and as long as they're keep on making goals and reaching those goals, we don't kick them out.
So what about follow-up? Do you follow them? What happens to them when they first are released from your facility?
That's a really good question. I do reach out, and I do have a few people. I'm actually having lunch next week with somebody that graduated from our program almost a year ago, and we're going to have lunch here in a couple weeks. So I do reach out, and then a lot of times they do reach out, and they do like want to come back and volunteer in our clothing closet, or they bring stuff, and then they're like, oh, I could come in for a couple hours this week and help down here, because clothing closets are very hard to maintain. So it's really, they kind of become part of, I would say, a family.
And do you also help them find jobs?
Yes, we do. We have a partnership with Southeast Works, which is a organization that helps people find jobs and helps pay for certifications if they need it. So we do that, and then we also have a partnership with Metro, where we can send them people, and they can go and work cleaning up around. It's usually around Portland. I don't know how far their reach is, but like cleaning up the mess on this, sidewalks and stuff that
they get a bus pass.
Yes,
yeah,
we do have bus passes.
Okay,
yes,
that's great. But I'm interested in this. What happens when they ask for a job? Are they supposed to tell the employer they have been in prison, or what? Or do the employer ask, or how does this work out?
Yeah.
That is a really good question. So my most recent experience is I helped somebody fill out a job application online, and they don't directly, because I remember back in the day it was you used to have to check the box. Oh, got louder. If have you ever been a convicted felon? They don't really have that box now. Now they kind of ask, how long ago were you convicted? Because I know that there's some laws that are passed now that they can't hold it against you if it's like more than 7 years or something like that. But it was a little, to be honest, it was a little stressful for my client when we had to answer those questions, because I don't really talk about that stuff with them all that much unless it's absolutely necessary, just because I'm trying to give them a fresh start. So they have not heard back on that application yet, but now they're going to go to Southeast Works, and they'll be able to help them to find a job. But yes, we do work and help people find jobs.
But the people you deal with, are they hardcore criminals, or they just done some lighter crimes? If there is lighter crimes, but they're not the murders or anything like that.
We don't have any barriers to the help that we give, so it does not matter what their charges are. If they want our services, then we are happy to provide them.
Do you know what percentage go back to prison again, or you're not following them that far?
That is a really good question. I know.
So
I honestly don't have the answer to that question.
No, it's okay if you don't know that. We're putting a lot of questions on you from the entire system. So
It's fine.
it's okay to say I don't know. And the reason we're using the microphone, even though we're a small group, is so that our recording, so that people who are streaming this program can also hear the questions.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So does anyone else have a question? Because I could just talk. What is the organization called?
Our organization is called the Insight Alliance, and we also brought some flyers just about our different programs. And then we also brought, Santy made these today, so beautiful, little QR codes. So you would just scan this, and we'll leave the rest. So for other people, if they want to come in. Yes. Yeah, we'll hand all this out. We just brought them right here, but yeah, we can hand them to Nancy.
I'll make sure that they get distributed, and that they'll also be available where we keep the rest of the flyers of kind of general interest.
And just a little brief synopsis on this. I put 2 QR codes. One, we actually have a video that talks more in depth about the work that we do. And then the other QR code will take you straight to our website. And so this is all about our team, the work that we do, who we're connected with, our partnerships, things of that nature, how you can donate to our organization, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have some peer mentorship like flyers about our different programming with the Insight Alliance.
That's excellent. And is your main headquarters in Portland?
Yes.
So like the clothing closet and where people, okay.
Yep.
It's Insight Alliance.
Yep.
And I'm going to have cards, so don't worry. Yeah.
Yeah, we are located like right by the Moda Center, right on 2nd and Broadway.
Okay.
No, I have not been incarcerated, but no, that's okay. That's totally okay. I felt like I was speaking fast, but I think there's something really beautiful and sort of poetic about the work that I do specifically. Having mentioned that my mother's life was taken years ago, and then being able to go into prison and work with people who have committed similar, if not the same crime that was committed against my mother. I think that speaks to, one, my own personal growth and my own understanding. But I think with our program, the Insight to Wellbeing program, it has allowed me to understand that when someone is living in misunderstanding of their own mind, so for example, the person who did this to my mother reacted to a feeling quick. And if they knew better, maybe they would have done better. This doesn't mean that the behavior is approved, but that doesn't mean that I carry hate in my heart for this experience, because I've learned so much, and I think that it has allowed me to see people not for what they've done. And that's why you'll hear a lot of us, like, we don't really ask about what crimes people are committing. It's none of our business, but also too, that isn't a barrier to be able to connect with someone. And I've learned that in my experience with working for this organization. And so I think that it's allowed me to connect deeply with individuals who have committed crime, and to see that the well-being that is inside of me, inside of everyone here, is also inside of them. And it is no different. And so I think that I don't know, that creates a spark, and it creates something completely different than I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, that's beautiful. What does your group need most? Like if people were interested in helping? Oh,
say
so said money.
say that one louder. No, I'm just yeah. Exactly what I was thinking.
Well, I think that, and then also, clothes for the clothing closet is always a plus. Yeah, and just I think just spreading the awareness of like being able to look at things differently, and looking at people that may have done things that we would think, oh my gosh, like that's, whoa, I'm not going to talk to them. Just looking at it a little bit differently. Not saying, just taking a pause and just kind of being like, I wonder why that happened, instead of just thinking that they're bad people, because they just made bad choices.
How long has your agency been in existence? And you say your funding is all grants? Mm-hmm. So you don't have any federal, you don't have any county?
Well, I'm pretty sure that our Measure 110 funding is state funding. So there is that. We don't have, there's just different kinds. We have had federal grants. We had a tobacco grant that was from the federal government. So I guess we do have that kind of government funding. I think what I misspoke, and what I meant to say is that we don't just go for any government grant. We just want to, because we want to make sure that we have control over how we are treating the people that we're serving. but yes, we get a lot of it from grants from foundations. I think today we just got some from the Hillman Foundation, and then also another one recently is Santy and I went and spoke at Cleveland High School, and they interviewed us, which was I was a little more nerve-wracked at that than this. To sit with a whole bunch of teenagers and them asking us really, important, really good questions that made me stop and think, and I wasn't quite prepared to answer them. So, and they chose us out of all the people they interviewed, and they granted us money from a grant, because a grant gave the schools money to then decide who they wanted to disperse it to based off of how they felt the money should be spent. So I thought that was really, really amazing to give the youth agency to decide. So
That's
really
incredible. What was your favorite question that they asked that you were able to answer, but what you thought was a great question?
Oh, man. That is a good question. Okay, I wonder if it's the same one, because we both looked at each other and thought of it. Do you want to say it?
I don't remember the question. I remember the response.
Oh, that's fine.
Do you want to?
Maybe you see what the
Okay.
question is.
Okay. Let's see if we thought of the same thing.
Get back to your question about when we first started.
Oh yes, she's better at answering that one. So, and again, I'm not quite sure how they worded it, but they were basically because Cleveland High School has experienced gun violence, and so they were really wanting to know, or I felt that they were wanting to know, like, where we stand on guns and if we should, ban them and stuff. And is that the one?
I think so.
Yeah, and then we answered it like this.
Well, it was along the lines of like advocacy work and like implementation of law and policy and things of that nature. And although my response was, I think that's great because I think that's incredibly important, but here is where this is. We can't go here unless we understand what's at the foundation of that. And at the foundation of that is youth who don't understand themselves, who were told, hey, you're either going to end up in jail or you're going to end up dead. Which one do you want to do? And so if you're given that choice as a youth, or, hey, you need to be in a gang or prison, which one is the better option to a 14, 15, 16-year-old child? And so my response was along the lines of, when we understand the personal foundation and what is going on here, meaning our personal foundation is comprised of all of our thoughts, beliefs, morals, cultural beliefs, our expectations, our conditioning. When we start to kind of get eyes for that down here, then how we move in the world is going to change. So although this is great, this is focusing on outside in, and where we're coming from is inside out. So the more we understand this, the less then we feel like we need to react when someone is being disrespectful or, result to gun violence when we feel angry or whatever the feeling might be. And so I think that after that response, it was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, it's a great response.
I think that even for them, they were just like, oh, I never thought of it that way. And so multiple things can be true at the same time, but also what direction are we looking at? And so we were able to speak from a different lens. So
incredible.
I just wonder, what is the educational level of the people you're helping? Do some of them have college degrees, or are they mostly high school dropouts, or how does it work?
I would say everything in between. I mean, we have people that got their GEDs in prison, or I'm working with a client in prison who she's going for her master's at the moment with Portland State University. So then we have people who didn't graduate college. So I feel like there's every spectrum kind of in between of educational level.
Okay,
Yeah. And then I'll just quickly answer the question about like when this organization started. This organization started back in 2016. And the founder and executive director, Anna, who is incredible, she's from England, and she started working in prisons in England, and she found this understanding, which we call the 3 principles of mind, thought, and consciousness. She had gone to multiple different webinars and trainings and things of that nature, and she sort of like saw her own experience differently, because in her life, she always was looking for a middleman. If only I had blank, I would be okay. If only I just had the house, the job, the family, then my life would be better. And so she had a really strong desire to work with people who were in prison, and she had gone from the UK to America, kind of back and forth. And then in 2016, when she came back to America for the second time, she posted on social media and was like, hey, are there any volunteers that work in prison? Because she was trying to kind of get an in with the Department of Corrections, and someone had messaged her and was like, yeah, hey, and through word of mouth and just connecting her to someone, then it was only Anna. She was the sole person of the Insight Alliance, teaching groups all by herself in Columbia River is where she started, and then very slowly but surely we started hiring more people, and then hiring more people, and then we became a team of 15, 16 people when we had a restorative justice program within our organization, and then they became their own 503c nonprofit organization. And so now we're a team of 7. We are very small, but we are very mighty. So yeah, we've been, I feel like in the last year, we have really blossomed in our services and in the work that we do. So yeah, we've been around for a little while. So I think something that is also helpful outside of money is also just exposure, because we come in contact with a lot of people that are like, I didn't even know your organization existed. So I think opportunities like this are a great way to, yes, reflect on the book, and also know that the work that we do exists, and we are out here creating ripples of impact in the communities in Multnomah County and surrounding communities as well. 7 of us.
7, okay.
7 people working. Okay.
Yeah. My job description, so we're both directors. I am the director of programming, so I do everything Insight to Wellbeing, which is our 10-week program. I've got my hands on that pot, and so I'm facilitating groups inside of the prison, and then also doing all correspondence with the life skills coordinators. And then I also do a lot of marketing and design, if you will. So we have a monthly newsletter that I get to design myself, and we come up with the content and the artwork. And then we also have people in prison who like to write and are really skilled artists and poets and all the things. And so they'll send in some of their artwork into our office, and then they can get featured on our newsletter, which is really great. So with the QR code to our website, there is a drop down that says Moments of Insight, and it's a PDF archive of all of our newsletters. So if it's something that you're interested in. Yes, so we send those into prison, and then for the prisons that we teach at, we'll bring them in for the adults in custody, is what we call them, AICs, so that they can have a monthly newsletter. And a lot of them, that's what they look forward to every single month, is, you know, if they're not getting letters from their families or from loved ones, and they have something at least to read and something to look forward to.
That's incredible.
And I would say, I think that you guys send out, prepare and send out 300 of those a month. 300 newsletters to all the all prisons. So, and yeah, there's Texas, Tennessee, yeah, there are lots of prisons because word gets around. So, yeah.
Wow, that's great.
I just say, you also say they have houses, halfway houses when you come out. Are you taking care of that too? No, just everything is in prison.
she's all the inside prison stuff. I am the case management director as well as the I'm the director of case management and peer mentorship. So I oversee the houses. I oversee and provide supervision for our mentors. And then I also run the clothing closet. And we also have, we do a little bit of second chance employment by employing somebody that has been incarcerated most of his life, and he lives with schizophrenia. And so it was really hard we weren't able to find him a job where it worked for what he was experiencing. So it works in our clothing closet. So I oversee him and help him get through all the things that he gets through, which has been really great. Actually, he, when he came to us, he lived in a group home and did not have a job, and he got Social Security, but it was dispensed to him in little increments. He did not have control of his own money, which was understandable at that time. But since he's been working with us for about 2 years, he now has his own apartment, and he does have full control over his money, and he shows up to work every day. He works 2 hours a day in our clothing closet every day of the week. And yeah, so that's what I do.
Great questions, everyone.
How many second chances businesses are in the area? Are there just tons of them, or is that hard to find?
For jobs for people?
Well, second chances.
Like second chance employment?
Yes.
That is a really good question. I think a lot of times with second chance employers, I think it kind of depends on the person's charges is the barrier that we come across. So a lot of places are second chance for even person-to-person crimes and things like that. But if the crimes are more like around like identity theft and things like that, then it is a lot harder to find them employment. But so it usually ends up being like warehouse stuff and things like that. But I have kind of gone to trying to get if they don't have their GEDs, which a lot of them have gotten them in prison, but if they don't for some reason, that we get their GEDs and get them into a trade school, because then the trade school has partnerships with a lot of construction companies, electric companies, I guess. I don't know. What are some other, welding, like all those kinds of things. They don't really have stipulations on who they hire. If you go through and you get the education that you need, then they will hire you.
Okay, that's great. Any other questions? All right, well, I just want to say thank you. This was extremely informative, and I really, really thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Can we give it up for our guest?
I don't know what to do.
And don't worry, you can
not working.
leave it down there. All right, so we will have this card with the QR code, and then there's some forms here about the Inside Alliance peer mentorship. So we will place those in the same area that we have right now, the books behind bars set up, so that you can find those, for the rest of the month. Has anyone not heard of the program, the books behind bars? Okay. Well, I will explain it to you, afterward, and show you over there. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
I want to get your picture.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's great. Ready one. Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome.
This is a really good video. So I would definitely.
Okay.
It's a very, very good video.
Okay.
Makes me emotional. Yes.
So I'll be watching that one.
Oh, okay, great.
so